Hello, my people. Here, Grandmaster from Peru, Emil Cordova. So, as I said in the previous video, I was talking about the kind of the five basic principles that you need to know, and we are going to talk about the fifth one, that in this case, it's known as the initiative. Initiative is a type of advantage that you need to use. It's a type of advantage that you want to use, especially right after the opening, especially if you are white. Initiative is a type of advantage that is not really related to the material thing. It's more related to something that you can use and serve an energy that you want to use. So that's very important to know. So let's start first with this game, e4, e5. Obviously, as we already know, we are trying to occupy the center because that's what it's supposed that we try to do all the time. So e4, e5, we are occupying the center at this particular moment. So knight of three, this is not about occupying. This is about controlling and eject, and at the same time to press the enemy pawn. So our opponent tries to defend that pawn with the knight, which is kind of perfectly normal move. So both are fighting for the control of the center, and at the same time both are occupying the center. So I just play bishop c4, aiming to obviously to harass the pawn on f7, and at the same time what I'm trying to do is to capture that pawn at some point. That's one of the ideas. So I just basically completing my piece of development. So bishop to c5, and now here's when it comes one of the most famous gambits in the whole history. This game was played by Paul Morphy against Ernest Murphy. I think it was in 1800 approximately. So in this particular case, white made the wise decision and the brave decision of sacking a pawn. So this is a gambit. You give something in order to obtain something. You sack a pawn, and what you are looking in this position by sacking a pawn is to obtain a more dynamic position, and at the same time to activate most of your pieces. So that is one of the ideas. So you play b4, you entice black to capture the pawn, and then what you are achieving in this particular case is first your queen will be allowed to go to b3, and in that way that queen along with the bishop will have the chance to press that weak pawn on f7, that pawn that is really close to the enemy king. So therefore that pawn is a very important pawn to press. That's one thing. Second, that pawn is guarding and controlling a very, very important square on d4. We are controlling the center, so we are following principles, the basic principles that it's about controlling and occupying the center. Principles that you should not forget. That's very important. If you want to improve your chess understanding, you should not forget those principles that I mentioned in my previous video. That's very important, guys. Habits is very important. So you have to keep that in mind always. So now bishop a5, kind of pointing to the king. And now once again, white made a very brave decision, using the initiative in the right way, in the proper way, trying to control the center, fighting back for the center. But white is sacking a pawn once again. So white makes a decision of capturing the pawn, and then black, sorry, and then white just, well, if you want to capture my pawn, take it. I don't care. If you want to capture the pawn, feel free. It's out of taxes. Well, no taxes season, so black made the decision of capture with the bishop, so capture. And now if you can see, white have fulfilled almost complete all his pieces development. So that's a good thing. We just sacked 3 pawns, which is kind of high, really expensive price for activating all my pieces. But at the same time, the enemy king is still placed at the middle of the board. It's placed at the center. So therefore, we should try to open the center right away, soon as we can. Try to keep that king in the center or try to open up the center. So that's why we play bishop a3, pointing against the king side. And let me just remind you something very important, guys. Once you realize that you have the initiative, once you realize you have the dynamic advantage or temporary advantage, it is very important, and every move you make comes with tempo, comes with good pace, comes with good rhythm. Otherwise, your advantage will vanish, your advantage will evaporate, your advantage will start fading out. So that's very important to know. That's very important to understand, or or the contrary, your advantage will just fade. So that's very important to understand, guys. So d6 trying to activate my bishop and at the same time be able to trade some pieces, because when we have material advantage, we want to trade pieces. We want to do that because that's the thing that it will makes our life easier. So that's important. So now queen to b3, for example, a very silly move, it will be here to play something like h3. The reason, because this is a position where we have the dynamic advantage, where we have the initiative advantage. So that's why we don't want to play something silly like h3, because what is that for? What is the idea of playing h3? We are just making a very slow motion move. And we are not allowed to do that. We are allowed to do very aggressive move that can win tempo, move that can create threats, because that is the right way that how you should suppose use the initiative, how you should try to gain an advantage. So that's very important. So h3 obviously is not a move. Queen b3, pointing against the pawn on f7, and at the same time we are pointing against the pawn on b7 and c3. So we are using the initiative in a good way, in a good rhythm. So that's very important. We are going with the flow. That's very important, guys. So now knight to h6. The knight is on the ring, is a din. We already know that, but okay, that's not important. Now we are pressing the pawn on g7. And black made a terrible decision here. Black played queen f6, which was definitely not the best. Black should have played castle, and after castle, bishop to b2, pointing against the pawn on g7, and obviously black will have basically forced to play queen f7, returning some material that black obviously already captured. I mean, black was 2 pawns up, and that's why returning some extra material shouldn't be considered as a bad idea in general, because you already have 2 extra pawns. So sacking or returning another pawn will not make any big difference, but it will make a lot of difference for your king, because now your king will start to smile, because I mean, no queens, no danger, no mate. So yay, we are heading into an endgame. That's a very nice thing, especially when we are up a pawn. So bishop takes, and the position will be very hard to judge because I have the bishop pair, the position is open, some weaknesses, you have some misplaced pieces, and blah, 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 blah. And then, well, white definitely will have a lot of compensation, but in this case, black didn't make that move, didn't play that move. Black played queen f6, and then it's when it comes the moment of the truth. White find the most violent and very nasty and very, I would say this, very brave move. Boom, undermining the whole structure. Now it comes the boom, where the whole position starts to be more shaky. So d takes, and now rook e1. So as you could see, every move that white made, it came with a tempo. It came with good pace, always creating a threat, always creating a threat. The reason, because white had the initiative, and white has the initiative advantage. So that's why every move that white is making here is creating an important threat. It's coming with tempo. White is not losing any single move, any single tempo. So black just made bishop d7. Okay, if you want to capture my pawn, capture on e5, and then I will castle. So white say, okay, are you sure that you are going to castle? I will be waiting for you. Like the Richard Mack's son, I will be waiting for you, wherever you go, whatever you need. Very nice son, by the way. So castle, and now Mr. Murphy made a very brave decision, a very genius move, actually, indeed. Bishop a6. And obviously, I don't want to go so deep in this analysis about the calculation and all the complications and all the nuances about this, but obviously black should have captured here, and after queen b3, black will be able to hold by playing bishop e4, queen to b7, but no one wants to bring the king close to the center. Believe me, that's not a healthy attitude, because don't do that. Don't do that. Computers can do that, but not a human being. That's not the way that how you should learn chess. Mainly, you have to try to keep your king in the safe zone. But obviously, here you are forced to do this. Otherwise, you are going to be mated, and that's what it happened actually. And then rook d1, king to e8, and if you capture on d8, then king takes. That's a very important move, keeping the initiative in your side now as black, trying to keep all your pieces out. And if d check happens, then king to d7. Rook to d1, once again, keeping the initiative in our side. Every move counts with tempo, every move counts with a check, and every move counts. So after 94, for example, now white, it's basically forced to repeat perpetual check. So I know that most of you will ask, why not capturing the rook? That is a very yummy rook. Yeah, the rook value is like 5 points, right? But more important than a rook is the king safety. So if Morphy will have captured on h8, let's just pretend that he will have played something like this. Obviously, black will capture on f3. And once you capture back, take a look of your king. Pretty lonely, all right? So because it's pretty lonely, now you will see that suddenly, out of nowhere, now black will have a lot of options here to attack the white king. Therefore, that's why capturing an h8 can be considered as a really good idea. Shouldn't be considered as a really good idea. Wouldn't have work. The reason, well, my king will be really lonely. Don't forget about the wonder rule, guys. That's very important. Always take a look of your king safety and try to consider what is your opponent looking for? What are your opponent options? What is your opponent aiming to do? Why your opponent make a move? If your opponent trying to create a threat or not. That's a video that I'm going to create in my next a next chapter that I would like to cover, obviously. I would like to hear your thoughts too, by the way. So in that way, I could create more relevant content and advices and patterns that I think you will really enjoy it. So that's the why in this particular case, Mr. Ernest Morphy didn't play on takes. He played knight a5, hoping that white will capture with the queen, and then I will recapture on a6 and we'll be trading pieces. So then, yay, and up a pawn. So why not trading pieces? Let's just trade the queens and we will be happy, and I will be happy. Maybe white not so much. So that's why I cannot recapture on a6, unfortunately. The reason is because, I mean, if we trade queens, I'm down 2 pawns. Trading pieces is not good for me. What I have to do is just to keep the pace, to keep the initiative on my side. So instead of capturing the silly knight on a5 and a sleepy, well, not a really sleepy knight, but I don't want to do this. What I want to do is rook c1, including rook e to z1, including all my pieces. The last piece I include into the battlefield. The last piece joined into the party. Be sure while you're attacking, be sure to invite all your friends, into your into the party. That's a very nice way that I like to say. While you are attacking, be sure to invite everyone, all your pieces. So that's very important. Rook to c1. Now I'm threatening mate on c7, and now it's very hard for black to hold this bishop to c6. But now we just captured on a5, and the difference here is obviously you are not going to be able to include your queen. Now your queen has been blocked by the bishop on c6, and you cannot remove your bishop from f3 because mate will come. So that's why here black makes the decision of capturing on x6, queen takes. And as I said before, very important, when you have the initiative, keep using the initiative, keep going with the flow, keep going with the momentum, keep the pace in your side. So if you already know, initiative counts with tempo, and initiative always it's going to be related to active move that comes with tempo, move that can create threats. Important to remember that, guys. So rook takes c6. Whether you want to capture my rook or not, I will not force you. If you want to capture, be my guest. If you don't, still, you're going to die anytime soon because the king has been completely destroyed. So this is a kind of sort of a hunting season. So if I capture on c6, now comes the jumbo pony on e5, that Mr. Octopus comes here to visit Mr. Spider-Man, and after this I'm just capturing everything. The queen on c6 is just falling apart, and that's how you should use the initiative. This is one of the most beautiful examples that I just found related to the initiative, the way how you should use the initiative. The initiative is an energy that you want to use. So always keep that in mind. That's very important. When you have the initiatives, be sure to not trade unnecessary pieces, unless that your calculation could prove the contrary, If your calculation proves that you are wrong, well, that's another different story. Then I will explain how to calculate. But by now, what you want to, my goal with this video is for you to understand why it's so important to use wisely the initiative. As I said, initiative comes with tempo. Initiative comes obviously with trying always to create threats to your opponent. So that's to your opponent pieces. So that's very important. And with that said, guys, that's what we're for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please, I will read your comments if you have some interest in other things. Um, Thank you so much for being here, and let me know your thoughts. I will be more than glad to answer you, and I will be more than glad to help you with any doubt that you could have. We are just a community that is just trying to grow up. Yeah, thank you so much. So don't forget to share the video if you like. Forget to send me your like at least, saying that well I will keep working because that will feed my spirit. And that's very important for me, guys. And don't forget how to use the initiative, and don't forget to review the previous video, so in that way you will know what I'm talking about. When I'm talking about the initiatives, is because I already talked about the previous basic principles that you need to know. And in this case, don't forget that the initiative is about active move that come with tempo that can create threats. Okay, always remember that. So thank you so much. Thank you to you all. God bless you, and see you then in my next video. Bye bye, guys.